And now, the stationary astronaut.
Whole like spacesuit on, then that's another situation.
What do you mean? We've always got spacesuits on.
Oh, that's true.
Okay. So, what does your daily regimen look like?
Are we talking already?
I mean, we're hot regardless, so it doesn't matter when you want to start. I just get into generalized questions, and then we go into my bullet points that I've prepared.
Yeah, sure. Hey, what's my day like? Well, depends what's the kind of day going. If I'm traveling, it's depends on the mission. When I'm at home, I don't know. I get up kind of late, because I go to bed late too, and I make myself a superfoods breakfast, a stretch if I'm, if I get into that, listen to a record. Give myself the time to be chill. And then I come into my office and tackle a million emails and office business. And then at night I do art, maybe run around town and get some other errands done. When I'm home, I just kind of work a lot because I'm gone so much that there's a lot to catch up. Yeah.
Do you find yourself able to create around the clock at any time, drop of a dime, you could get into creation mode, or does it vary?
Yeah, I could do art as soon as I get up, but the thing is, if I start painting, I get addicted and I never want to stop. And then I'm like, oh, dude, you didn't answer that guy's email. He's waiting on an answer, or that other client's waiting on a file, or you get this commission to do, or that. So sometimes I know that it's better for me to clear all my business, so then I can fuck off and do my art and not have any mental situation nag at me. So that's what I've been doing these days. I've been working super hard from wake to sleep, and then I can go to Peru and just be in the country with my parents and paint all day. That's the goal.
I wanted to ask about your travels. You seem to you are a traveling spirit. So is that kind of your recalibration to get out of Dodge, escape the snow, and then use it as a reset creatively?
I'm always on, I'm always creative. There's never a time where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like doing art. I'll always do art. Depends which kind of art I want to do. There's several kinds of expressions I like to do. I'd say I travel more than I stay home. So if anything, being home helps me recalibrate from being ungrounded so much on the road, because with traveling, I can be in one random city of the States 1 week, and then in a festival the next one, and then I got to do a mural here, and then I got to go somewhere else and be some other role. So it's very much okay, Chris, we're throwing you in this situation, meet all these brand new people, do your thing, make everybody happy, and then duck out and start again. While at home, I just kind of it's me, my girlfriend, just chilling, see my friends once in a while. I don't have to make people happy other than just myself. So yeah, it's more relaxing and grounding.
Is there a wow factor with new people that you're meeting at, say, a festival and you're doing work for? How long has that wow factor been going on with your art? Because watching your documentary, there's so much fluff from your friends who are like, no, we love his art. His art is incredible. When did that wow factor begin with passerbys, people who are at these festivals and things like that?
People being wowed at my art?
Dude, your art is incredible.
Yeah,
I'm fluffing you up.
It's okay. I can take it. I don't know. I like it when I paint in a place where nobody knows about my art, and they just see it at face value and be like, whoa, that's cool. What the fuck's going on here? I want to find out more. This is not normal. Who the fuck are you? Shit like that. And I'd be like, oh, I'm an artist and I'm painting. And then they're like, wow, amazing. This is so cool. While if I go to a festival where I'm already Chris Dyer, the cool artist they've known for a long time, it doesn't matter what I paint. They're already oh my God, it's Chris Dyer. And, doesn't mean I'm going to paint any less good, because I'd feel bad being Chris Dyer and not giving them gold at every turn. But yeah, there's a lot more I don't know. It's almost like there's more homework when they know me already, because I feel like, okay, I got to be this person they build up in their mind. And I can't just be all aloof about it and be like, yeah, no, it's just me. It's almost like they get disappointed if I'm just like, no, no biggie, dude. I'm just a dude. They're like, no, you're this guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll be that guy for you if that makes you happy. Yeah, like, thank you. Like, it's really kind of like weird for me because I'm just a normal painting artist guy. But
you're
I just want to make
chameleon. So you're a chameleon, basically.
Yeah, but not in a fake kind of way, you know. I'm not gonna be all like, oh, you want me to be this, I'll be that. But I'll kind of like be the version of the true self that I am, that is resonating with the person I'm dealing with. You know, like if I'm in a place that's more gangsta, I can't just be like super open, peace and love, Chris, because that's almost like annoying to them. I kind of be a little bit more guarded and be more Jedi and know that there's a different set of rules around me and you know, work accordingly. You know, always being nice too, like but you know, and vice versa. You know, from a more spiritual place, I can allow myself to be more open and extra nice and not have to like put any guards or whatever.
Where did that self-awareness and when did that self-awareness begin? Because you used to be a reckless banshee, bro. You were a wild child, and it was actually very interesting to talk to you about it yesterday when you told me you used to be a soccer hooligan down in Peru in a gang, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Chris created a gang everywhere he went.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I got this energy and I'm I'm not like a alpha male, like, everybody follow me, I'm going to conquer the world. But I'm like, I have got a leader kind of role model where I'm like, hey, this thing's beautiful. Let's go in that direction. Let's do something nice together. And I'm good at organizing. Now I use it for the good side as opposed to like cheering for soccer and beating up people. But yeah, the self-awareness, I don't know, like I was kind of like already questioning who I was since I was 3, 4. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, so what's going on here? Like, okay, I'm a human, I'm little. What am I doing? Like, what is this? You know, who am I? And that's always kind of like being a question. And I'm always still trying to figure it out, you know, and try to be the best version possible.
What role did your mom play in that self-awareness? Because it seemed like she, with how it played out, it seemed like she would just like, no, Chris, go discover.
Well, my mom's really nice, you know. Mm-hmm. She's nice. She's got her own wounds. She's got her own insecurities, which seems like reflect upon the kids. It seems like that the sins and victories of your parents kind of like bleed down to the kids because you're looking up to them. You're like, okay, my dad's like grumpy, so maybe I should be grumpy. Mm-hmm. Or my mom's like not very secure about herself. Maybe that's a way I should represent myself. And then that becomes your personality. And, you know, oops, shut up. And then that's who you become. And then you got to work throughout those kinks. And, yeah, I'm trying to become more and more myself, whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. But I love my mom, and I love that they allowed me to be myself. Like, they were not down with the street gang stuff, of course. I remember once I went to jail or whatever, you know, like I was throwing like a fucking bottle at a cop and it exploded on his boot and they chased me down the street, and then I jumped a wall and I was trying to take off my street gang shirt so he wouldn't recognize I was a gang member, but they still caught me. And then I didn't call my parents to pick me up. In the end, I only paid him like $5 to get out of jail. But another guy from my gang who saw I was going to jail called my parents, and they had to go to the bad part of town to look for me and all this shit. And as a punishment, they didn't let me go to soccer matches for a whole month. That was the punishment, but I still went. They just didn't know about it.
Well, there's so many people.
Right. And they don't know, like, I'm like, I went to my friend's house, and then I would still go to soccer stadium because that's the vibe I was into those days.
Did your grandpa own that soccer team?
He didn't own it. I would say he was one of the founders in my documentary, but I would say he was one of the first players of that team. Kind of got it not correct in my documentary. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was like a legendary person in that thing. He played with the most biggest legend, Lolo Fernandez, on that team. So it's just crazy that like my grandfather played for Lau, and yeah, it was, there's still like lots of pictures of him. I never met him. He died in Peru when my dad was like around 17 years old. So Peru went through a dictatorship of communism for a few years, and my grandfather was the administrator of a big farm in the north of Peru. And when communism came in, they just took him out and sent it to the city and would just give him government jobs, and then they give the people, the agricultural peasants or whatever, to run the farm. And that was not a good situation because they haven't been trained to do that. But then my grandfather would do these jobs for the government, and in one of those jobs, the chauffeur was drunk and crashed, and my grandfather died. So I never got to meet him, and there's some interesting stories on the both grandfathers of my mom and my dad. I don't know if you want me to tell you about it.
Well, no. Did you find yourself when you were living back down in Peru, when you moved, because you moved there when you were 4? So did you ever kind of like, I have this a lot of times with my dad, where I hear stories about my dad, but it's like, how am I going to allow for my dad to live through me? Did you find that when you were a hooligan going to all these soccer games where it's like, my grandpa played for this team and now I'm a warrior for it?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think my dad had that wound from his dad, like dying young. Mm-hmm. And my dad and me are very different. He's like all about cars, and he's a mechanic, and he's a carpenter, and he was a dirt biker and champion of Peru in 92 in his 40s. And he's a very like manly man who does all these manly things. And I'm just like this kind of like, not gay, but like, or too feminine, but more like sensitive kind of kid who's into the arts and shit, who doesn't care about cars. I'm 40 years old. I still don't drive. And he bought me a motorcycle at 11 years old, and I just kind of like use it to run around the park, and that's it. I'd rather go surfing and skateboarding. So I wasn't like really like the kid. I wouldn't say I wasn't the kid he wanted, but I think he learned to love me, and now he's like stoked on who I am and what I become. But as a kid, he was like really frustrated, like, what the fuck's up with this kid? He's not like me. He's not into all these manly things. What the hell's going on here? So yeah, I guess like the whole like street gang thing in a way was an armor that I would use to kind of like be extra violent and tough and gangsta when I know inside I'm just like a pussy, I'm not a pussy in a bad way, but like a really gentle soul that just wants to love everybody and express himself through the arts, which is like not unheard of in Peru, but it's not like a cool thing, like everybody is just very aggressive and macho, and things are changing with time, but at least this is like the 80s and the 90s.
It seemed like creatively your wings really spread when you moved back to Canada.
Well, I had another culture shock because when I moved to I grew up in Canada till I was 4, but I can't even remember that. And then I moved to Peru, and I was weird, and I adjusted. And by the time I was 17, I was like, okay, at least I'm Peruvian enough. I surf. I'm in the street gang. I got friends. Like I got the vibe, and now I'm not fully a loser. And then it sent me to Canada. And once again, I had to like figure things out. So there's no surfing, and there's no street gangs, and these kids are all very peaceful. So I'm all like gangsta, and like if there's a snowball war, I'm like fucking throwing snowballs to everyone that's trying to be, like, if anybody would fuck with me, even just tease with me, I go up and just punch him in the face, because that's kind of like how I rolled. And everybody around was like, what the fuck's with this wild person? I finally made some friends, and I was like, wow, cool. Like after 5 months, and we all went drinking, and I went so berserker at the bar. I was just like breaking all the glasses and got kicked out by the bouncers. I was just like a rampage of destruction. And people were like, well, that guy's fun, but we can't hang out with him. He breaks everything. So yeah.
But they still loved you so much. Is that when you started the HOH Gang?
Right. So that was the HOH. At the beginning, they were like, wow, this guy's perfect for Red Crew, but almost like too intense. So I had to like almost like chill out a couple notches to not be too like out of control. And, but it was all about getting drunk and breaking things. And I think they kind of had to step it up to like catch up to my level of destruction. And yeah, that was fun.
Well, there was a story about you in a bar with them and you were sitting cross-legged on the bar and you just started knocking glasses out of the rafters like a wild man.
Yeah, because there was no limits. I'm 17. I'm fucking angry that my parents got rid of me and sent me to a country I find totally boring. And then I'm super drunk and I'm like excited and I'm like, wow, they see how crazy I am. Maybe these guys will like me. And I'm just fucking breaking shit. And they thought it was cool, but they didn't want to hang out with me much at the beginning, at least, because it was just too much. But yeah, whatever. We had some good years, and then I just kind of got over that part too.
But the most interesting part, Chris, is that you illustrated your journeys. So you would put yourself through travel and through chaos into these situations, and then you would illustrate them.
Yeah, like I started doing comics about our adventures, and I always would film. My camera back days was like this chunker this big that I bought at a pawn shop and just film all the rampages. And, it was more like a skate video, but kind of like a CKY kind of situation where we just break more things than skate. So, yeah, it was some great days and still friends with a couple of them. But they're all adults now.
The one common theme that I noticed was how everyone you came across, their lives were brightened by having you in it. One circumstance was when you were tree planting for that summer. And this is like the third time I heard in the film still like he was a wild man, but like there was life without Chris and life with him, and life with him was always better.
Well, thanks, man. I don't know. I don't want to be because I'm super cool, but
no, I'm fluffing you up right now.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess people kind of I think it's about the energy. We can be good. We can do good things or bad things, but if you got a good energy and you got good intentions, you can tell who's good or not. It's really despite of their actions. And I would hope that people would enjoy themselves when they're hanging out with me. And I think the positivity was in there along the thing. Even though I'm doing bad things, I was still kind of had a generally positive outlook to it. And I think people enjoy positivity as much as negativity is a popular thing because it's easy to be everything sucks kind of mode. Mm-hmm. But if you're no, man, I'm going to be the rebel that thinks everything's amazing. You just got to work hard at it and you got to make it amazing and you got to make it positive because it's not just handed to you so easy. I think people appreciate that, because we all want to strive for that good feeling or good world or whatever.
You're being what you want to see in humanity, in the planet.
Well, now at least once I turned to fully, I guess, positive or conscious, if you want to call it that. But it was tree planting that kind of turned me around, because the reason why I went tree planting is because I was sick and tired of my drunken, self-destructive ways, and I wanted to get away from my HOH friends and be all right, can I reinvent myself here? Can I allow myself to be whoever I may be? That was I was 21 years old, so you're still kind of figuring yourself out. But I knew there was more to me than just being a drunken buffoon. And hanging out with the hippies in the forest, planting trees kind of allowed me a different reflection of aspects of myself. Mm-hmm. And then seeing that was something that felt good, I would keep on nurturing it and grow more towards a positive direction.
So you wanted to reinvent yourself. Is that why you changed your name when you went up there?
Yeah, so Chris Dyer just had so many connotations that if I was Carlos Sanchez, knowing you Chris Dyer, so we told him I'm Carlos Sanchez, okay, cool. So for a few years I was Carlos Sanchez to a lot of people. And they were very disappointed once I told them my name was Chris Dyer. It's like, what? That's such a normal name. Boo.
You played them, bro, for that long?
Right. Well, that day there was no social media, so there's no way of confirming who's who and shit.
That kind of pivot, though, do you think that translates over into your creative patterns in regards to how I'm feeling today depicts what I'm going to paint today?
Well, it's not so much on a day-to-day basis. It's more like a monthly situation. Like, say, if it's a time in my journey where, say, like I break up with a girlfriend and I'm sad about it, and I'm in a month in a place that I don't enjoy so much, then maybe the thing that I have to express that month in general will be something darker. You know, there can be better days, there can be lower days, but in general, there's like a certain energy that I'm trying to learn from. What I'm thinking specifically right now is when I went to Vienna, Austria to teach a couple of years ago, and it was right after a breakup, and just Vienna is a really like dark place. And it kind of like, it was the perfect place to be depressed. And I made a really dark painting, and it was great, you know, because I really had to dance with my shadow and with my negative traits and see that I didn't want to really like nurture it anymore. I had to accept that that's part of me, and then kind of like learn something from it so I could continue being a positive person. But it's important to go through your ups and downs in life. You can't get away always being happy. That's not normal or even healthy sometimes. So yeah, both.
Would you consider that painting you did in Vienna almost like a purge?
Right. Yeah. Did you know it? Because it's about purging.
Oh, it is. No, I don't.
Yeah. You know, if your assistant Jamie or something can
Jamie, pull it up. It's on your Instagram.
I'd have to I'll send it to you later, and you can put it on this thing. But
yeah, we'll use it.
It's called shadow work, and it's this beast kind of like holding a diamond but throwing up, and also like opening up its guts and a bunch of shit's coming out of its guts. And it's kind of like a totally different painting than what I usually do, but people really enjoy it too. People really like negativity. Unfortunately, is whenever I do a painting that's like dark and evil looking, they love that shit.
Wow.
Which is interesting, but there you go. So it's totally all purging. So it's not about me purging, it's about my shadow purging. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you, buddy, have been collecting a lot of pain in your life. So you can let that go. And in that month, I was not having sex because I didn't have a girlfriend anymore. I did a master cleanse. So basically I didn't eat solid food for 11 days. And I was not smoking weed. I was just very not drinking. I was very pure and kind of starving a side of myself. And then right after Vienna, I went to Peru for one of my retreats. And there I was ready to just puke it up for real. So, and there I got a lot of really good rewards. The ayahuasca retreat I did out there.
You mentioned one of a very profound psilocybin trip down in Mexico after you had been hitchhiking for quite a while, and that was in Palenque.
Yeah,
and I really wanted to talk about that and kind of just figure out how transformative it was, and if that really kind of set you on a whole new. Set you up with a whole new paradigm?
Well, I know some people change from one day to the next. I'm the kind of person who's just always taking one step closer in a certain direction. Mm-hmm. I don't have radical I was bad one day, good the other day. It's always just steps closer and closer to a different direction. So basically, the whole Mexico hitchhiking trip was probably a year after tree planting. So I already knew I want to be spiritual. And in Mexico, that same day, actually, that I did the mushrooms, or the day before, I learned how to meditate. I heard about meditation, and then for the first time I did yoga in the morning, and then we meditated. And one of those meditations was all about forgiveness of people who had hurt us. And somebody who had hurt me was this girlfriend I had in tree planting that first year. She cheated on me, basically she cheated with somebody else while we were there, and it really hurt me. And she actually had gone to study in Mexico. And I told my hitchhiking partner, I think I'm going to bump into that girl in Mexico. It's like, dude, Mexico's a huge country. There's no way you're going to bump into her. Like, I don't know. Like, it kind of feels like that's how it works, synchronistically speaking. So I went to Palenque, and in the camp, I learned how to meditate, and we're doing this thing. And I was like, forgiveness, like forgive that chick that, was unfaithful to you and hurt you. And then we ate a bunch of shrooms, and it was like really strong. And you go through the Mayan ruins, and it's fucking like the Palenque ruins are amazing. So basically, there are these temples in the middle of the rainforest, and the people who lived there disappeared. That's also like the place where there's that engraving where it looks like there's a guy in a spaceship. It's a really like mystical place. And it was like a great day. And it was one of those days where you get a lot of like downloads from the universe, and you just kind of like open up to your oneness. And then as we're walking back home, we stop at some other campground, and boom, there was that girlfriend from tree planting that broke in my heart. And I don't know if this is relevant or not, but she had put on like a lot of weight, and I could not even recognize her. And it was only like not even a year after. It's like, whoa, it's you. But like, also what happened? Like, how do you go from like a skinny girl to like, what happened? And once we talked, she said like that she was so guilty about what she did to me that she went into a depression, and she ate a lot. And it was really bad for her too. And I was like, oh, dude, like, forget about it. I forgave you this morning during meditation. And then I did this mushroom trip. And now I'm just ready to let that energy go. And we're all young people, and we make mistakes, and I forgive you. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so happy. And now I could move on, and saw her again the next year, and she had lost all the weight, and she's feeling a lot better. So it's really funny how the synchronicities worked so well on that trip too, And once you're aware to like open and aware to the synchronicities, you see how beautifully God speaks to you without words. It's like by just, all right, this morning I'm teaching you this, and then this person is going to come back to your life so you can heal aspect of her too while you were healing it, and etc. If you're open for that.
It seemed like what you did, you summoned in that conversation.
Yeah, just that energy of forgiveness and moving forward past the mistakes that we do.
Do you have quite a few examples of happenings like that where you brought in a fateful instance like that?
Yeah, synchronicities happen all the time. I don't really have like a list written down of like, but it just happens when things are like, oh my God, that was like so crazy that happened. But at the same time, I understand that that's how the universe talks with me. So I just kind of like take it for granted at this point. It's like, oh yeah, of course, that person had to show up then at that moment. But yeah, that's, I think it was only a year before that I read the Celestine Prophecy, if you've read that book. And, by now that's like an old school book, maybe a little bit cheesy or basic compared to all the amazing books and shit that we got these days. But back in, the year 2001, it was the first book that had that kind of information, where I'm like, whoa, synchronicities and being conscious about eating your food and aura visualization and, vibrating at higher rates than matter and things like that. I was like, wow, this is the kind of spirituality that interests me more than, say, religion, where it's like stories of people a long time ago that had magical powers, but I got no can't relate because it sounds like a fairy tale. And so like religion never really helped me change too much to the good. While more practical ways of understanding the energies of reality help me, get into it, like hitchhiking. You're open there on the road and you don't know who's going to pick you up. And a lot of people don't pick you up, and then you just kind of accept it as like, okay, they're not the person to give me a particular message today. And then somebody picks you up and you're like, wow, this is a really weird person. Maybe they have, or of course they have the message that I have to learn today. And only a couple of days later, it's like, oh yeah, because that woman told me that thing, and then this, now I understand this. And so you only realize it later how everything works and the universe speaks to you.
How did Alex and Alison Gray come into your life? It seems like it might have been synchronistically.
Yeah, well, it's like a long story, I guess. But I was aware of Alex's art without knowing it's Alex's art. You'd see it on like, back in the day in the Beastie Boys artwork of Ill Communication, or in Utero by Nirvana. Like I had seen it. Or later on when I started buying like High Times magazine in the late 90s, you'd see his art here and there as a Canada's Cup poster or the cover of his book. And you're like, wow, that's some cool art. And I was doing what people would call today visionary art since the 90s, but only in 2003, 2004, I first found a book by Alex Gray, Sacred Mirrors. And I was like, holy shit, like this guy's gone fully into the whole spiritual painting situation and he's killing it, like, holy shit, this guy's really doing it good. It actually pissed me off. I was like, man, this guy is like the Beatles that wrote all the good songs, and what's left for me now? What kind of painting I'm going to do? Like he did all the good ones. But it didn't matter, like I was like, well, I'm going to have to just do it more with a skater kind of vibe, or like a, graffiti urban kind of vibe, which was what I was doing. And then later on through a webpage called Erowid, which was about psychedelics and stuff, they had a gallery of art. And then I started seeing like, holy shit, there's like a bunch of people out there in the world doing psychedelic, spiritual, cool art, kind of aligned to what I'm doing. And it's called visionary art. It's like, wow, that's cool. And through that, I guess I started meeting my tribe. And anyways, but going back to the Alex Gray, I first went to New York City around 2007 to go and meet him. Just would go to one of his full moon gatherings in Chelsea. And, met him quickly. He never really remembered because he meets like 1 million people a day, and that's fine. Second time I met him was at Burning Man. He was around where I was at, and I asked him if I could interview him for my documentary. So that's why he was in my documentary. Third time I met him, he was doing a show in Toronto. So I traveled the 5 hours from Montreal, and I even volunteered dealing some of his merch. And by then he was like, kind of remember me, like, oh yeah, I think I remember you from Burning Man. You interviewed me. Fourth time I met him, I had been invited to be part of this big visionary art show in Hawaii, 2010, with all the biggest visionary artists, and he was part of it. And he was like, oh yeah, Chris Dyer, I remember you now. Next time I met him was in Australia, and we were all part of a panel discussion of visionary artists. And that's the first time they really like paid attention to me for real, because in the visionary world, there's a way of expressing yourself that's very kind of like, Shanti Om, like kind of everybody's kind of like the same. But I'm kind of different because I'm like a city, like punk, rock, skateboarder, graffiti kind of dude. And I joke a lot. I do a lot of jokes. So like they're making some questions and they're all doing the same kind of answers. And I'm like, let's just throw a block party. And that's the healing of the people, and just kind of like being me. And after that, Alison came up to me and he's like, Chris Dyer, I really like your vibe, man. Hey, Alex, come here. Let's get a picture with Chris Dyer. And I'm like, holy shit. Now they want to get a picture with me. And they were like, you should come to Cosm and like teach or do something. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm starting to teach. So then they invited me the year after to teach at Cosm in New York once they had moved. And now this year is going to be like my 8th year teaching there. So for 8 years, I've been going there and teaching my workshops, and I stay around 10 days every time I go there. So there's always, plenty of meals where we sit down and have lunch together, and they invite me over to their studio and we'll have a meal and we'll smoke a bowl and then we'll do art together. And that's like, for me, that's Christmas, My favorite day of the year is like, today's the day where I get to go to Alex Gray's studio. We get stoned, and I don't even smoke weed like ever, but I will with the Grays. And then I'll do art with them. And it's like so fun, because it's just high caliber people. And I'm not talking from an ego point of view where like, ooh, they're this or that. No, it's like the kind of people where you have conversations where you're like, wow, they're inspired, and you aspire to be bigger than you are because you know that there's people out there who are doing that. Most people I meet, and I don't want to say I'm better than anybody else, I'm inspiring them. They're like, whoa, Chris, you're doing all these cool things. And I'm all happy and shit. And it's cool to be fluffed, as you say, and whatnot. But I want to like surround myself with people who are killing it way more than me. And then I'm like, oh shit, I got work to do, you know? Like, yeah, Alex is like, you know, maybe 20 to 30 years older than me. And of course I need that time to get to his level, both as an artist or a creator in general. But just seeing that level is like, all right, dude, like the work's not done. Don't just sit down and feel comfortable. There's like a lot of work to do, and it's a beautiful love mission. So yeah, I love the Grays, they're great people. I love their mission. At the beginning, I didn't really understand so much why they had to build a church. I was like, why another building? This planet has so many buildings. Like another build, that's your mission of landing a building. But once I went there, it's like, oh, it's not about the building. It's about creating a community and a place for pilgrimage and a sanctuary for positive spiritual art. There's not enough of that in the world. And when there is, it's kind of like attached to a particular religion, kind of like blocking the people who are not part of that religion to us. But this is like for all religions and for all artists, and it's all positive and good. So I'm like, I'm in. Like, I'm not a religious person, but if I was, I'm part of the religion of art, where art's my creative practice and my prayer. And now I'm happy to go there and do some voluntary work, painting murals for them and doing my workshops, and they keep, a good portion of my earnings just to help build this building that will share his amazing work. You know, he got a lot of his paintings back. He bought some others back so he can share with humanity. And I think that's so nice, you know, because they know they're not going to live forever. They're in their 60s. They'll have like 20 good years to go. And then, you know, human life ends. But they'll leave this building behind with all this amazing art, hopefully for hundreds of years. So it's like such a righteous mission to me. And I'm all down to support them and what they do.
They bring our wildest visions from ceremonies to the visual third dimensional eye. And it's kind of like people who back in the day, they would put Easter eggs in movies, you know, like there'd be a pyramid over here, a pyramid over here. Freemasons talk about it with the knowledge they know. And what Alex and Alison have brought to us is Easter egg gift. Those who frequently travel, whether it be with dimethyltryptamine or whatever, and they tap in and you experience visions you could never put to work, bring words to. And when they're able to provide it as a gift to the common person, the lay person, it's they are cornerstones of an art community that might not even ever be fully tapped into.
Right. No, what they're doing is very specific, and I think it's very important because, look, I'm not pro or anti psychedelics. I'm very like kind of neutral, where I'm like, if you need it, there'll be a medicine for you and you take that medicine. I'm not like, hooray for all psychedelics, everybody's got to do it. And, you know, it's not like a black and white thing. So when the visionary art gets too linked up with psychedelics too closely, I'm a little bit like, yo, I don't know if that's kind of my vibe, because I know the psychedelics is a double-sided sword that can heal you or it can cut you. And I got members in my family who never came back from acid trips, and forever they're crazy. So I know that you can't just say like one thing is good or bad. But the problem is the governments or societies had said like, no, it's only bad. And then all the good is not being used. You know, if in the right setting, psychedelics is like such an amazing medicine that could really help heal humanity. I know ayahuasca in particular and mushrooms, as we talked before, can be something that can really teach you about what reality is all about and what's our role in there, and that nature needs our help, or at least not our destruction. And so it's important, artists who are like kind of like bringing back that vibration through visions. I would like to think that a good psychedelic painting can kind of bring you back into that state. Not only a painting, but a poem, because Alex is a great poem too. Like, it's so crazy. Last time there was an art church that he did at Cosm, he was saying a poem about the nature of spirituality, and I fucking went for like a couple seconds into the ayahuasca realm, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit, like a poem's never put me in that state of oneness. And so basically I think it's a great service for artists who are bringing forth this vibration through visions, as long as we don't like use it as some kind of propaganda to glorify it as like it's only positive. Like, no, like, let's be careful, let's be super respectful. These are doorways to dimensions that we are not masters at, so let's be super respectful and have great intentions while doing it, you know. And I think Alex does have that respect. He does have that intention, that spirituality, and that purpose of bringing forth medicines to heal humanity. Art being the biggest medicine of them all.
His art literally makes it so people don't even need to take a third party consumption into effect. You know what I'm saying? Where that's trippy just seeing the art.
Right. Totally. Like if you're the kind of person who can't handle acid, at least you can see how it is. Like you can see part of it and understand the oneness that he's bringing through. I think the whole like Invisible Man situation, I loved the Invisible Man in the encyclopedias as a kid. That was always like, whoa, it's all this crazy shit inside us. Like what a fucking masterpiece of nature to make these biological, pieces that we are. But he's bringing it to the next level, showing you like the meridians, the energy, the auras interacting, the intention of a soul between two people. There's just so much more that we can't see, and he's bringing that forth. And that's an understanding that can really bring us forward as humanity. That realization that we're all souls, and we got to stop looking ourselves as races and religions and all this clothing we put on the soul. This over-identification with matter. So, I think it's great what he's doing, and I love him as a person, and Alison too. They become great friends, you know? Like, there's a lot of great artists I look up to, but they're just not my vibe in their personality. Luckily, Alex is a dude that's just super chill, and I love him as a person too. He's a good friend, and, I always wish him the best.
Take us into your exhibit, your most recent one at Wynwood, where you got, I believe it's your most recent one, where you rented out a warehouse.
Yeah, well, that was my most recent solo shows. Solo shows are a little bit of a bitch because you want to do like something powerful. Mm-hmm. And, usually I do it with like a gallery, but in this case, I don't know. It's not like I lost faith in the gallery system, but it's they want to keep half your profits, and they really kind of just want to sell stuff. And I want to sell stuff too. But my main intention with doing a solo show like I did in Miami last year, it's almost like I'm making a bomb of light. Okay, so I don't want to criticize Miami or Wynwood or the art world, but there's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of ego. And it's all about like, look at me, buy my thing, money, 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 ego, ego, ego. Mm-hmm. And of course I want my ego tapping the shoulder once in a while too. And of course I need some money to pay my bills. I'm a human too. But my art is medicine for the people to use to remember their spiritual nature, just like Alex in my own kind of way. So renting a warehouse in middle of that madness that I just described, I'm putting all my spiritual paintings on the walls and getting all my community together, and music. We had like beautiful sitar and belly dancers and DJs and speakers. And then I painted a mural outside, and it was like a place where all the spiritual people could come and enjoy quality art and have a good time, and still we'll party and shit, but like, not in a debaucherous dark way. It was just kind of like alternative for people who were feeling that vibe. And I still sold enough things. I did some of the best sales of my career, and I had some great artists like Alex and Ron English, and a bunch of street artists came to see my show. And for me, that's like the biggest reward of them all, when I can show my soul expressions to people that I respect and admire. So it was super blessed, and just happy I don't have to do it this year because it's a lot of work.
So you're not going to do this annually then down there?
Oof, no. It's a big investment. It's like a $15,000 kind of gamble that you're just throwing on the table. Like, I'm building this warehouse. I'm shipping all the fucking canvases from Canada. I gotta build a stage. You gotta make lighting. You gotta paint the floors. You gotta paint the walls. You gotta buy enough spray paint to get the mural outside. You need helpers. You bring my booth from Colorado. Advertisement. An ad in Juxtaposed magazine. Go and schmooze with everybody so know my show exists, and then they can go and check it out, etc., etc. It's just too much, and I barely wanted to do it last year, but I did it, and I'm happy I did it, and now I can just chill out. This year I'm going to go to Miami and paint a mural for fun, show my art in a group show, and then duck out to Peru and not really worry about it too much.
So you still go back to Peru every winter?
Yeah, I've been going to Peru every December for the last few years. Pretty much ever since I started doing ayahuasca, I saw that it was like, okay, this is my medicine. This is my ally. This is my way to recapitulate the year and clean my software after a year of being a million people, as I told you. And at the beginning, when I first did it, I did it as curiosity to be like, oh yeah, that's so trippy and interesting and good, but I don't think I have to do it anymore. But eventually I saw like, no, this is something that's a work in progress as myself. Every year it seems like I let go a little bit more, and I allow myself to be more the soul side of Chris. And now I do it as a retreat that I offer it to other people. So now it's a art workshop in the jungle with ceremonies at night. So people are coming from around the world to do this with me. So I can do my personal work, my personal healing as a patient, but I'm also a teacher and offer that scenario to other people who trust me as Chris Dyer to put them in a scenario with a good shaman in a good place. Because there's a lot of charlatans out there. And unfortunately, there's no way for people to know what's the real deal or not. But if I tell them like, oh no, my shaman's the real deal, this scenario is a safe one, people trust it. And so far it's been 100% people leaving there in a positive state, healed, changed, all the good things. This year we got a group of 17 people coming, plus me and my girlfriend and my parents also. So it's going to be like a group of like 20 patients. It's going to be a fun jungle jam. I'm excited for it.
And your parents have never experienced?
No. I think my mom smoked pot in the 60s at some point. And my dad's done a couple of things too in his youth, but they haven't done strong psychedelics like in a long time, if they ever have. And they're really afraid about it. Mm-hmm. But I tell them like, look, there is hard aspects of doing this work, but it's worth it, like, yes, you got to go through certain reflections about our not so happy parts of ourselves. But that is so we can let that go, so we can realize where they're coming from, so that we can like become better human beings. They just turned 70, so it's not too late for them. There's still a decade or two, hopefully, where they can just be happy and die knowing that they're eternal beings of the light. So, yeah. I'm very optimistic about this session with them. And yeah, I know that everything that happens is meant to be.
I've never, because taking loved ones down for an experience is a crazy place to be, man. Because in a sense, you're responsible somewhat. And then they, realize that, okay, it's a solo mission. It's me and Source.
Right. Well, that's something I kind of realized, like me knowing that my parents will be there. I'm going to be worried about them for the whole ceremony, but I'm like, you're going there to do their work and they got to do their work. Yep. You can't be like being like, how's my dad doing? How's my mom doing? They got to go through it themselves, Same with my students. On the first year that I did this retreat, I was like really nervous because I know Aya works for me, but as I said before, everybody is different and everybody needs different medicines, and maybe I'm giving the wrong medicine to somebody. And on the first ceremony that I had with these students, one of my students had like a demon possession situation. So he was like, rah! and like flailing out. And during the day, he was like a really chill hippie dude from the States. And at night with the eyes like, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, holy shit, like, did that happen because he opened up an Aya, or was that there already and Aya is revealing that? And yeah, that's what my shaman told me the next day. Like, yeah, he had something and they had to work and like for hours. And then eventually that situation stopped. And then the next day when he did ceremony again, then he was peaceful again. And I'm like, okay, cool. They dealt with that entity and it's out. And that's like amazing. So I was worried about it, but then the best outcome happened. So I was like, okay, this is just what I wanted for my students. So, yeah.
That's the most important thing about working with professionals. What I've seen in ceremony, I could never put into words, but I'm not surprised anymore. Nothing really surprises me from the stories I've taken away from ceremonies. I remember one where, man, there was this like troll demon they had to get out of this guy named Kenny. And they spent like 3 nights working on him. It was dark during the day for him because he was aware of what he's going through, this spiritual recalibration. And that third night when they got it out of him, there was just this glow. And it was a glow to the room because, yes, it's a personal journey, but say in the Mestiza tradition, you're still kind of energetically going through it together. It's like a concert hall, you know?
Right.
And oh boy, when you come out of it, the entire room feels it.
Right. Well, so great that they conquered and that the people were, good practitioners and knew how to do it. Because I've also been in situations with, I guess, shamans, if you want to call it that, gringo shamans, or people who really have not gone through the proper training. That they've done it a few times, but you can't just serve Aya and not be this badass motherfucking Jedi who's ready to battle like whatever comes through. And I had this group, and my usual shaman couldn't make it anymore because his wife got pregnant. So I used a local shaman who wasn't the same, and 2 of my students had demon or entity possession, and they're both sitting right next to me on top of it. I was like so annoyed, and the room was not very big on top of it, so it's like right in your face. And so the guy's coming and blowing the tobacco on him, and the demon guy's like, ha ha ha, yeah, I'm gonna leave this guy. Good one, man. Yeah, keep on blowing the tobacco on me. Ha ha ha, like laughing at him, and I was like embarrassed, and I was hoping that my other students weren't noticing how this entity is like clowning the shaman who wasn't, capable of like dealing with the situation. So yeah, I was like, oh man, should I fly my shaman from Peru to come and deal with this? But he just couldn't because of his wife being pregnant. So yeah, I've learned that really you just want to work with competent people and do it properly. But yeah, as you're saying, yeah, it's a group team effort sometimes. And when the liberation happens, even if it's just like a puking and you're like, somebody's struggling to puke and you really want to puke and you finally puke, there's like this like, good for you, man. We're cheering for you in silence. And when there is a demon flail out or even an orgasm, it's right there, like you want to like focus on your thing. But when somebody's like yelling, it kind of like takes you out of your personal situation. And that's not ideal when you just want to deal with your own stuff. But that, every ceremony is different. Sometimes that will happen and you got to kind of go with it. There's been other ceremonies that are being totally ecstatic and beautiful where I go like so deep into my being, where I feel like I'm in a room inside with all my students. Like I'm like close my eyes, close my ears, and I'm just inside me. And in that room, I'm with my group. And we're all there like kind of like celebrating in our soul form. Yeah. And we're like, wow, oneness. And then I look out and it's like, oh, now we're divided again into like little human receptacles. So I almost want to just stay inside. And, so I don't know. It's different every time. And it's always a blessing, though.
There was one year where I was in the zone and myself and one of the facilitators were in the dream world because it was the same time in Minnesota as it was down in Peru. and or a hour off or whatever. So it was definitely nighttime in Minnesota. So we were tapping into the astral realm with my dog, playing fetch with him while he's up in Minnesota sleeping. And my wife said that night, she's like, Eisen was like running in his sleep. And we're down in Peru in ceremony playing fetch with my dog. Me and Sam are another facilitator at Blue Morpho. Just things you couldn't even explain to people happen down there when you're tapped in.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I don't have a pet myself. I used to have a cat, but my girlfriend, who's very psychically awake, when she's in Aya, she can go and like have conversations with her cat, but the cat is more like embodied like language that she can understand, and she can understand her cat better and what she thinks and all this stuff. So I think it's beautiful, to tap into your non-physical state.
Last year, talking about like applauses and uproars in ceremony where everyone's collectively on the same wavelength. Last year, Dennis McKenna, Uncle Denny, he's so self-conscious. He doesn't like the vomitivo in front of people.
Wow.
And so he would always go to the bathroom, right? And this time, this is like night 4, night 5 last year, it was the ultimate purge for him. And we're in the ceremony hall applauding him as he's finally letting it all hang out. You know, it's you have those magical moments as a hive that are it's bliss and ecstasy on another wavelength that words can't even describe.
Yeah, totally, man. Uncle Denny.
So next time, I told you that yesterday, next time you see him, you have to call him Uncle Denny. That's what we're starting a new wave.
Sounds good, man. Sounds cute.
Kind of like Alex and Alison in the art world. That's Uncle Denny in the ethnopharmacology world.
Right, the grandpas and the elders.
Absolutely.
Respect.
What when you return from Peru, do you have any big events coming up in 2020?
Big events. I got a lot of, I wouldn't want to call them small events, but I'm just performing in a bunch of festivals throughout spring and summer. I always get hired a lot to live paint. I guess the one that comes to mind as the most exciting will be Patagonia at the end of next year, when there'll be the Eclipse Festival in the south of Argentina. And you know about that? Like, you remember the Oregon eclipse?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so basically there's these festivals, global eclipse festivals, that gather around full solar eclipse around the world. So in 2017, it was the big Oregon eclipse, where all these festivals from around the world each put a stage, and it was this craziness, like the biggest festival you ever imagined. Before that, 2012 was in Australia. So that's the one that I had a speech with Alex and shit. That was the next one will be 2020 in Argentina. And so that will be like, I think Symbiosis is the one that heads it. And they just get like all these different festivals from around the world to go and do their different stages. And I'll be there painting something. And eclipses are very powerful. And when you gather a lot of powerful tribes from around the world to honor that, it's very potent. So, and I've never been to Argentina, even though I go to South America all the time. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, like next year I'm getting married. I guess that's another big event for me. Doing a marriage in September. So I got to prepare that. Other than that, just painting. I just want to paint a bunch, like I've done a lot of things throughout the years. I'm like, I'm doing this big thing and that big thing. And I was like, I don't give a shit. I just want to like paint and, be happy. The biggest thing I can do is really just be happy in the moment. So that's what I'm working at.
And that's a common theme, man. Like when a viewer witnesses your art, because I grew up in an artistic family. My grandma had her own gallery and stuff like that. And you could always tell when she was in the zone, and her finished products showed me that she was a vessel of something greater than herself. And we all, it when you see it. And that's how I feel, how your art makes me feel. That's how Alex and Allison's art makes me feel. And I'm really appreciative of it. I actually started following you when I saw your live stream live from Cosm. And that's really, I was already following you, hence the reason I was able to see it. But really that made me dive in to Chris Dyer as a human being. And I'm really grateful to have been able to spend this last hour with you, Chris, along with our conversation last night. I hope to work with you in the future. My company bring you out for a festival. I'm very excited for what 2020 has to bring, and I'm very thankful for you spending this time with me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Happy you found my social medias. I love the social medias. It's such a great way to express yourself past an art piece, because the art piece takes so long to do it, and then you present it and it's like you see it one day and then the next day it's like it's old already, in this like such disposable kind of society. But with the Instagram or Facebook or whatever, we can do things like this. A conversation is our art piece. A little tutorial IGTV is my art piece, or just sharing more of my life, because my life is my biggest art piece. A painting is a byproduct. And I would say it's the most beautiful art piece, but every second of creation that we experience together is our art piece. So the social media platform can help me share a little bit more of that, my ups and my lows, and find other people who resonate with that or not, as a way to reflect on themselves and aid with their growth or whatever. And in that way, we all grow together, like there's the world sometimes seems like it's in a dark place, and we can get a little bit like, pessimistic if we're going to pull it out. But we can still try our best and become the best versions of ourselves, and, see if we can do this together. And it's good to find that community in these ways through podcasts and social media.
I was meaning to ask you, with people's short attention spans on the internet, do you find yourself creating more digital art on your iPad and things as such?
I'm not making art as a presentation for my social media. Mm-hmm. So it helps to have quick art to be like, got something to post tomorrow. Like I just got an iPad and now I can blast things a little bit quicker. And it's like, okay, this actually helps with my posts. But no, that's not why I'm making art. Like I'm making art because I want to do something epic that hopefully ends up in a book. And once I'm dead, people pick up my book and be like, oh shit, Chris Dyer did something that advanced the human culture, to some degree. My biggest goal would be to be in museums, really. But we'll see how the culture of the world grows. Like visionary art becomes something relevant, where it's like, in the years 2000s to who knows when, these artists were doing this kind of art that were expressing another side of humanity that was beyond their reach at the time. So it's important to show what they were depicting, and then that shit ends up in museums. Yep. Then, I got a chance to get in there. Or maybe we'll just appreciate my art as their own. We'll see. Once again, that's maybe more for my ego who wants to last forever. But,
when you're the wave, you make it in the history books, bro.
I got to do my thing, and I hope that it's of value to people, and then more people can see it in the future. But I'm not doing more digital art. I do some digital art, and I use the tablet to speed up the process of my graphics for clients, because basically graphics is what helps me pay my mortgage. Mm-hmm. But the paintings don't really pay unless I sell it. But I have difficulty selling it because it takes me so long to paint that they end up being very expensive, and the usual follower of my art doesn't have that kind of budget. Yeah. Only big collectors do, and I don't really have a big connection with that kind of people who has tons of money for psychedelic art. But that's okay too, because I love my art on the wall of my apartment. So I made it for myself. I didn't make it as some kind of product to sell on the side. For that, I got my brand. My brand, I'll sell all my products without any remorse. Mm-hmm. And that's all good. But yeah.
Do you feel like mural art then is kind of where it's that middle ground where you get to provide so much art to so many people and you got commissioned for it?
Right. So mural art is great because most of the times it's a commission that pays me pretty good for the amount of time I have to put into it. It's quick, but it's big and it's pretty well done. Still not as well done as me going with a brush really gently all month long. But when the canvas is so big, even if my brush is a spray paint line that's pretty thick, it ends up being something very special. Mm-hmm. And then it's for the people, it's usually in the street for people to enjoy. And I feel okay leaving it behind because it only took me a couple of days to do. So yeah, I think muralism is a great way for me to provide many services at the same time while not declining on my quality of expression.
Which one of your paintings would you consider your golden child?
Well, there's different paintings I like for different reasons. I'd say the most classic Chris Dyer painting would be the one called Peeling Bodies, which I did in the year 2003. And it's like this face opening up to a heart shape, and it has other faces inside. And then at the end, there's like a little circle, which represents the soul, and then a drop of another circle above, which is the sun. So it's basically the sun is God. We're a drop of that same consciousness reflected inside ourselves. And when we open up our different layers, there God is waiting for you. But it's all love, Yeah, there you go. Peeling Bodies. So I did that in 2003 at age 24. And still, that's the one that the message is so clear that people just really get in and like, that means this to me. I had people who've done Vipassana and be like, dude, your painting Peeling Bodies happened to me. Or like, I did this drug or psychedelic and that happened to me. And to me, that came to me during meditation. Yep. I was meditating in Oregon and just like thinking on a story that a friend had told me. It was originally for a CD cover, so I gave it some kind of like Rasta culture dressing. And that came through. I thought it was just another painting, sold it for $200. And then like year after year, people just really love that painting. So after a few years, like 8 years, I contacted the person I sold the painting to and I bought it back for the same price. And now it's in my living room. And
They didn't run you up. They sold it back for the same price.
Right, because it was a spiritual lady, She was like a psychic spiritual lady that like got it, and she's like, oh, it's been so great to hold that painting for 8 years. I'll let you have it for the same price. It's all good. I know that through you, a lot more people will see it than it being in my house. So she gets it, And sometimes my best paintings come back to me. Same with Alex, Like my children come back to me if they're meant to be in my hands.
How I know I'll always have a connection to Alex and anyone or anything he touches is the fact that one of his paintings, the one with all the faces coming off of one head, came through to me in a ceremony. And I didn't even know who Alex Gray was. And it was theoretical. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was like, oh, wow, this guy and these types of savants, I'm going to call you, are bringing our craziest dreams into fruition visually. Right.
Well, I think Alex, I don't know if he's a psychic, but I would say he's already a little bit more sensitive than your normal person who doesn't even think there's sensitivity or psychic abilities. Mm-hmm. And I think psychedelics open up your psychic senses a little bit more. I'd say in me, like now I'm better at reading energy or like observing the infinite when I'm sleeping or whatever. I think he's gone through a lot of experiences that have made him mature in that way. That he has that better understanding, and then he can put it on a painting very well.
Well, one of the early names for dimethyltryptamine, the scientists actually wanted to call it telepathine because of the telepathic nature with it. And anyone who's experienced enough times to be able to, I've been able to have telepathic conversations with my lost loved ones, and it's no joke. It's real. And that's real to me, it's very interesting. In the history books, they originally wanted to call it telepathy. And so when you go on a fast, right, it is known now that if you fast before you go to sleep, you're going to have more vivid dreams. When you fast for longer periods of time, like the Islam culture, they are trying to get closer to God when they do that. So if we're talking about the God and spirit molecular makeup in our brain, well, there's something to that.
Right. Yeah, I could see it. Like, I guess the definition of telepathy is talking to somebody without words. For me, for that to happen, I think the other person would also have to be like opened up to what I'm going through. Because I can be all like, okay, give me your message. But if the other one's not using that phone, then maybe there's only one person communicating. But definitely, like, say, like, I haven't smoked a lot of DMT on its own. I think I did it like once or twice. But I have done like, 25 times. So I understand that opening more, and I understand the communications from that side too. But the one that really kind of like opened me up a lot was the Bufo experience. As hard as that was for me, I still feel like it opened up an aspect of myself where I understand certain things better. And I don't think I would ever do Bufo ever again. It was too radical and aggressive for me. But in a way, I'm happy I did it. I've been opened up in that way. I stuck my head in that dimension. They know I exist, and vice versa. And now I can leave them alone because so basically when you're talking about telepathy, I was definitely communicating with them without words, or trying to listen to what they're trying to say to me, even though I do not understand what's going on, which mostly happened days after I did the Bufo. Like the whole week after, as you may know, they visit you at night, and there's some kind of situation happening that I couldn't even tell you what's going on, but they're working on you. You're riding some kind of carpet of energies that you never feel before. I've been placed in moments of bliss as to experience how I should be like feeling about myself all the time, etc., etc. So yeah, I don't know if all that can be like just put as telepathy, but definitely something's going on when opened up to that side of yourself.
Bufo, the Sonoran Toad, is very, very interesting because it comes on quicker and it doesn't last forever. The visuals, but the feelings you have afterwards. I am a proponent of it. I work with practitioners with Bufo. And it is so, I think it's a great starting block for people who are afraid to go to the jungle, because it is what you're seeking when you go to the jungle, only it doesn't have the medicinal properties coming from the ayahuasca itself, if that makes sense. So that's what we've been doing is, okay, you think you want to go down to the Amazon jungle. 1, financially, you might not be able to go. 2, have you ever traveled internationally? 3, are you willing to book a plane ticket? And 4, are you willing to get stung by mosquitoes for a week? Those are things. And then you have to visit your travel doctor, stuff like that. There's a lot of steps for people to lead their way to that promised land. But with the Bufo, you get it right away, and then you get to decide, is it for you or not? It's not as graceful as ayahuasca, obviously. You're immediately there. It is so strong.
I think if I would have done Bufo and they told me like Aya is anything close to that, I don't want to do Aya.
Exactly, though. Then we don't need to bring you down.
But what about Changa? Like, what if you give people some Changa and they feel a little bit of the vibe and be like, this is where you will go after putting in a little bit of like sickness work and pay your dues to enter that gate, and then you'll be communicating with a healing entity that wants to work with you. Bufo was more like, come here, motherfucker, die. Now let me rip you apart. It's almost like, dude, chill out. I'm a vegetarian. That's what I told. Like, so that night when I did the Bufo, so I did Bufo in Mexico earlier this year. I painted for this museum near Mexico City that was all about indigenous tribes and the medicines. And he was a Bufo practitioner. And he was all shamanic, and he got trained by what's the tribe that does it? Can't
I
you
don't
remember?
know, dude. Out of disrespect, I don't even know.
Well, he got trained by the actual tribe who does the bufo, the Seris. There you go, the Seri tribe, and he did all the fucking ceremonies to open up the gate. We did it in nature, and then it was just as the sun was rising, and he's like, "Okay, look at the sun. Let's do this." And then the sun fucking exploded, and then I can't remember what happened for 10 minutes, but when he shows me the video, I'm in the floor like shaking, and it really scares me when I see that video. And after that, I had to go to his museum and spray paint him a piece, and I was very confused on what happened. It's like, did I die? What happened? Like what? Like I was very, very confused, and my body was very unnerved. Like, what the fuck did you just do to me? And then that night, I couldn't fall asleep. I was, unfortunately, he didn't warn me that was a possibility. But every time I felt I was going to fall asleep, I felt like both me falling backwards into the void of everythingness, but also this kind of like being coming at me, wanting to grab me and take me away. And it made me feel like I was going to die. And I was like, whoa, like, I guess I'm okay with dying, but what about my girlfriend? What about my parents? What about all my fans? Like, I don't want to die just because I get sucked back and then my body stops breathing. So every time I was falling asleep, boom, I would get awake. My body would get like, oh my God, because you feel like you're falling down to the abyss of infinity. And I was very freaked out. Like by the 15th time that had happened, I was like, okay, I'm not sleeping tonight. I tried enough. I'll stay up awake. But I was really freaked out. So the next day I'm like fucking tired from not sleeping. And every time I'm about to doze off, I can feel the other dimension. Basically, I was my DMT receptors were left wide open. And I'm half in the DMT land. So I was hanging out with this guy, this shamanic guy. He had to like do the thing to some other person in some other city. And we stopped to visit some artist that he knew. And when she's like, oh my God, it's Chris Dyer. Let me say hi to him. And he's like, hey, what's up, Chris Dyer? And she looks at me and she's like, whoa, dude, what's up? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's like, you look spooked. And I'm like, I'm fucking spooked right now for my life. I feel like I'm going to die. And he's like, all right, let's go upstairs to my studio. I'm going to work on you. Luckily, she also got trained by some other tribe. And her boyfriend started doing some kind of ritual around me where she would like touch my heart being like, you know, like the Virgin Mary power, something like that. And he was going around with his maraca and saying some other chant. And he was doing that thing where like he was sucking out of me and then going outside and vomiting and then going back in and sucking out of me and then going out and vomiting again. And it was like, holy shit, like no psychedelics involved in that thing. But after that, I felt so peaceful. And then I got into the good vibe of the bufo. And I'm like, okay, everything's good now. The fear has left me. And that night I went to sleep. And as I'm falling asleep, the bufo creeps into like my ear and it's like, all right, dude, like feel this. How does it feel? And it's like, oh, it's weird, but you know, it's not bad. It's like, okay, well, we're going to keep on this feeling. You're asleep now. You're aware of what I'm saying. You're still awake in your mind, but your body's asleep. Just let me do this thing to you and everything will be okay. And then I just started writing its vibration. And then I laid back on my back and they're just some elder shamanic. I just felt a lot of presence of elder shamanic people and they're all like stretching me and fixing me and doing something to keep on expanding my being. And that was only the first night. Mm-hmm. But at least I was not only okay to fall asleep now and interact with these beings, but excited for it. It's like, holy shit, like tonight I'm meeting up with my alien friends for a whole week and like, what will happen this time? But then your days are totally normal. And like, if I'm watching a TV show, it's like, I'm wondering if they're watching this TV show with me right now. They think I'm an idiot. Or like, if I want to masturbate, are these creeps looking up right now? Like, what the hell's going on here? So yeah, it was an interesting experience. And then they kind of like made their way. But once in a while, they'll visit me in the dreams. like more as this void of energy. Like I don't know if it's even them anymore or just my awareness of their dimension. So that's my experience. It was more after than the actual time I did it, because I can't even remember what happened. I got wiped out.
It's so awesome to be tapped into these I don't know, you call them the elders, I call them the wise ones, where you just know there's an older presence than yourself. And they like download information you might already beat yourself up about on a daily basis, but it's like this hug from the universe from these elders.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm very ignorant about what it's about. I actually did a painting about it that I can send you later if you want, about the Bufo experience. And I just don't even know what it is, but I would just say it's interdimensional. It's a dimension that we're not used to, and their language is different. And even the way Bufo acts compared to the way Aya acts is very different. Aya is very motherly. Like, she'll shake you up, but then she'll give you a hug and be like, "You're good, dude. You know, I just had to spank you a little bit, but it's all love." This Bufo was more like a guy, and he's like, "This guy's broken. Let's start breaking his bones and fix him together." I'm like, whoa, like, chill out here. I'm sensitive. I'm too sensitive for this treatment, man. And when I asked my Peruvian shaman, like, whoa, how come it was like so hardcore? He's like, well, you're a vegetarian, Chris. You've been working with plant medicines, and you're on this road of DMT is not just the same everywhere, you know, like you're working with this entity that's very plant-like, very jungle-like, and all of a sudden you're taking the strongest animal consciousness medicine. A frog is an animal, and it's a totally different situation that your body's almost shocked by receiving on the physical level, and also on the, so, and it's almost like Aya and Bufo, they're not enemies, but they're like kind of like competing on who gets to like keep me in a way. I think they must be friends on some level, but it's like two different planets, and if they're all working at the same time, they might like kind of like not. I don't know if they don't get along or one wants to take over the other one, but I'm in the middle. And my shamans always tell me, like, be careful about being cruzado. So cruzado is when you're mixing too many things together, and your wires go, you know, like your body doesn't even know how to react. Like if people are doing like, oh, let's do some mushrooms mixed with Aya, mixed with ecstasy, mixed with this, you're fucking like gonna see shit that just makes no sense. And I don't know if there's any healing there other than madness.
Yeah, you ain't coming back from that, Jack.
Right. So he's always telling me, be careful what you're putting. You don't have to do it all. You know, if you found something that works, keep on working on that path. And you can say like, hey, I accept your medicine and your path, but it's not for me. Like you got to have your respect for yourself. I was very afraid on that first day that maybe I made a big mistake and that I've taken a step back, because then I was left in a state of like panic. You know, I've never had panic attacks before in my life till then. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? I've been doing all this work to become more comfortable and happy and fearless. And here I did something that shocked me so much, it put me back in the state of fear. That's the opposite of what I wanted. Luckily, as I said, I had shamanic practitioners to have my back. You know, once again, the synchronicities of life we were talking before. What would I do if we wouldn't have stopped at that artist's home, who then did that little ceremony around me to kind of rescue me and close up my open DMT holes or whatever. That was just too much for me. So yeah, the universe takes care of you.
Not every bridge is for every man.
Right.
And that's where when you talk about, that's why dieting before you even go on an ayahuasca journey is so important. That's why getting off of you can't be on SSRIs when you go down there, because that's one bridge to your brain healing. And then ayahuasca, woo, that's the mother plant, baby.
What's SSRI?
And a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So like head meds that people take to feel happy. You can't be on head medications or anything like that. That's mandatory.
So antidepressants?
What's that?
Antidepressants?
Antidepressants, yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and SSRI is a specific kind that actually plays with your serotonin. It's a reuptake inhibitor, so it's meant to. So like Adderall, for instance, is an SSRI. It's meant to blast off your serotonin. Ecstasy, another one. It's another serotonin booster. Molly, MDMA, same thing. Right. So yeah, Chris, where can people find you? I'm going to cut you short, and I'm going to let you go so you can get back to creating God's work.
Yeah, no problem. Well, my webpage is positivecreations.ca for just my art, and positivecreations.net for my clothing brand and accessories and books and whatnot. I'm on Instagram at Chris_Dyer. I'm on Facebook at Chris Dyer's Positive Creations. You can Google me. I'm around. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys around, and I'll hopefully go to your spot soon and paint a mural and do some nice collaborations.
Let's go, man. You are now a stationary astronaut. Can you tell everybody, well, I guess I'm a stationary astronaut now?
Yes, I'm a stationary astronaut on a rocket to infinitude. Yow!
Dude, you're so goofy. I love you so much. All right, Chris, we'll talk soon, brother.
Yeah, it sounds good. Peace.
Hookah shaka, hookah.